Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bug Bounty meeting for Offensive Security Society here. We couldn't do the meeting on Saturday, so I'm recording this session. There was a fire incident or a chemical spill at school, so we had to cancel the meeting during that time. Uh, for this specific video, we're just going to cover the basics. We won't go into detail about what or like bug bounty or hacking directly. This is our first meeting. This is the first video for the session. So I'm just going to go over what bug bounty is, what we're going to do over the semester or throughout the whole year, and give you guys updates on if there's anything new that I want you guys to have before coming to the events or coming to the workshops, and anything related to what we're doing on Saturday. So just before I start though, our meetings for bug bounty will be every other Saturday. Um, if you have downloaded the Google Calendar that we have shared with you on Slack, then you still have access to when our meetings are. This includes also our workshops that we do every other Fridays. So usually we try to make sure those are in sync and are like exactly the next day. So make sure you download the Google Calendar and follow that. That'll help you be ready for when the workshops are and make sure you have things covered. So to start out with what a bug bounty is. In this case, bug bounty. So for bug bounty in general, though, bug bounty is basically when a company creates some kind of a page, whether it is through a platform like HackerOne, Bugcrowd, or any of those sort, and or whether it's on their own system. So some companies like Facebook has their own submission page on their own facebook.com/whitehat, where they inform like what kind of targets are in scope. So what happens is a company will create a policy and then they'll say these are our assets, these are our scopes. We want you guys to hack them. We want you to find vulnerabilities on them. And usually these vulnerabilities are not UI bugs. They're more of security issues to the company. So if you can, for example, pull another user information, upload unauthorized files to the server or like to a specific file type that they do not allow, and you're able to upload and execute those files, get RCE on a server, any of those sort that allows you to bypass the security protocols already in place, whether it's security in the code or whether it's security on how they're managing the server, their infrastructure. If you find a way to bypass those, if you find security issues on those, these companies will come back and say, all right, you reported this is valid. No one reported this before, if no one has reported that, and then we'll reward you monetary rewards. Some companies also reward based on swags, which is basically gifts. It's a token of appreciation, as I like to call it. It's more like T-shirts sometimes. Sometimes they'll send you stickers, gifts, and stuff like that. So there are companies that do both. Some do just one of it, and some will not pay you or reward you any amounts. And they are not a bug bounty. They are more of a vulnerability disclosure policy type of programs, and I will go over that at the end of this video just to differentiate what a bug bounty program versus a vulnerability disclosure policy program, aka VDP program is. Next thing we're gonna discuss is what should you know for the bug bounty session. So usually in this meeting though, we're gonna cover a lot of variety of different vulnerabilities. We're gonna go through each and every single one of it. So we try to make sure everyone gets the basic experience and then advance through that. So you don't have to be the top-notch security pen tester or anything like that to be in these sessions. These are designed to be beginner friendly. So we're gonna start that way. But however, it is extremely important that you have some experience with how certain browsers will work or like the features in some of the browsers. So to give you an example, for example, one thing I asked here is tip and tricks of developer tools and debugging. So what happens is some of the browsers like Google Chrome, for example, comes with a feature where you can use developer tools that are available right here, and then you can see these to create, like, see the different kind of resources it is calling for. And usually, even if you don't have crazy software like Burp Suite or anything like that, even not a crazy software, but anything that allows you to intercept requests, modify requests, you can use these developer tools, you can use these debuggers to see how the website is working and then kind of come up with different scenarios of where the security issues are. Another thing is a basic understanding of websites. This means you kind of understand how a website is loading the files. So for example, what kind of files it will load, whether it's a script, whether it's a style sheet with CSS, different like basic understanding of how the programming language might impact the site. So if you just know, like, for example, when a site allows you to search something, and if it allows you to, it prints out your input, then you try to see how it works. And you have sometimes cross-site attack. They're a basic type of vulnerability. And another is basic programming language experience. So the reason I asked for this is because sometimes there will be a case where you'll end up finding multiple vulnerabilities, and some of them will be medium severity, not a huge impact to the company. But then you realize that you can combine all of these vulnerabilities and make a chain of these and create a high severity or a critical severity vulnerabilities. During this process, if you manually change this, you might realize that it's way faster and efficient for you to just use a programming language, whether it is like basic bash script, pythons, or anything that you are familiar with, and then link these vulnerabilities together and then attack or report the security issue in a much higher impact than just reporting like 5 medium security issues compared to 1 critical security issue. So in those cases, a basic experience on sending a request from Python to a website with request libraries or stuff like that will help you. So just understand those basic things. We will go over them when we encounter. So let's say in one of the systems, we need to do some kind of a Python request where we can change different vulnerabilities. We will go over as a team together as a session during those times, and then go over it and see if like we can come up with different exploits. Um, so some of the platforms that we'll be using, bug bounty industry is something that's growing rapidly. So there are multiple platforms that are showing up, but these 2 platforms that I have listed here, HackerOne and Bugcrowd, are one of the most trusted one, I'll say. There are others. Synack is another one, but it's more of a private platform where you actually have to apply, interview, give a test, and then only you get access to. But HackerOne and Bugcrowd are more open to researchers. You can sign up and start hacking right away. There are other platforms that are popping up free, like sometimes in a month there will be a new platform showing up. The only problem with that is you cannot guarantee how the platform works, you cannot guarantee the security level, or you cannot guarantee the programs that are running on the platform will actually respect you, will provide you with kind of a security from the law. So for example, some companies might get mad at you just for finding a bug, and you cannot guarantee those platforms will protect you for that. HackerOne and Bugcrowd, on the other hand, they have certain clauses, certain regulations on what kind of vulnerabilities to report, how much you can exploit a vulnerability. They have some kind of code of conduct for both the researchers and the programs on the platform, so it kind of creates a friendly environment. So we will be using both of these frequently. HackerOne we might use more than others because there are some programs that we will be hacking on that will likely be on HackerOne. Bugcrowd also has a lot of public programs, so we will use that some of the times. HackerOne also will use because there are some really cool features that HackerOne has that I want to go over on some of our sessions. One of that is a collaborator feature where you can add someone else if you guys work as a team, and then you can split the bounty, which allows you to, like, for example, both person to get the fair amount of bounties without being worried about tax deduction or anything like that. So we will cover both of that. I highly recommend that before coming to the next meeting, you guys sign up for at least HackerOne and also Bugcrowd preferably, because if we decide to cover Bugcrowd on the next session, you won't have to spend time signing up or registering or anything of that sort. So I will go over the sign-up process for HackerOne real quick today on this video as well. So we'll do that at the end. Right now, I just want to go over the slides real quick. Another thing is what tool or tools you should know to use. So one thing we'll be using extremely, like every single session frequently, is Burp Suite. It's a web app interceptor tool. It's basically acts as a proxy between your browser and the website you're testing. So what happens is every request you make on that browser gets intercepted and shown to you in a clean environment where you can edit or drop the request or forward it, anything you want to do with it. And you can see that through Burp Suite. So we're going to use that almost, I think I'll say every session. I don't think there will be any session where we'll miss using Burp Suite. Another one is Git. It's basically a application or a command line application that you can install on your environment. If you're using Linux, it is extremely easy to install and set up. So what it allows you to do is pull any kind of GitHub or Git related files, repos of open source projects, and then use them as you need it. So most of the projects, some of them that you'll end up using, and probably in futures also you'll use are in GitHub. There will be open source project for security related stuff, CLIs for different applications if there are, or like even just an open source project that you want to play around with. Git will help you a lot. And also, I think some of you will also get some kind of a knowledge of Git as you take the CS classes here, because I believe most of our classes require using GitHub to submit your homework. So it's really easy to use this tool instead, like to make sure you push your codes, you pull them, or you whatever you need to do with those. Another tool, it doesn't necessarily have to be a website. You can use any of this, is a note-taking tool. So what happens generally is if you're testing a website and if you notice interesting behavior on it, if you see something extremely different than how the website was working before, so you, for example, you try some random character and then the website decides to throw you an error and you want to investigate that in the future, you can use Burp Suite to save it directly, or you can write it down real quick on a note. For example, it can be an online website like GitLab, GitHub, creating a private repo there, or you can just write it down handwritten on a physical notebook or anything like that. I recommend having a web app type of note-taking tool, so GitHub, GitLab, because then you can quickly search stuff. You can even use Notepad if you want. That is also fine with me. I don't care about those as long as you have some kind of tool, because it might be easier in the future. It's not a requirement for you to have it. It's just that it makes it easier as you go and try to test web apps, IoT devices, or anything you want. So the online resource that we will be using, and something that we have been recommending throughout the summer as we prepared for this bug bounty sessions this year, is using Hacker 101, Web Application Hackers Handbook, and Web Hacking 101. Let me open hacker101.com real quick so that I can show you guys what it is. It's basically a free class web security tool, a free class for web security that HackerOne designed. It is constantly, I think it is updated frequently. I won't say constantly, but probably frequently. And what they have is different sessions for different vulnerabilities. So file inclusion bugs, cross-site attack, authorizations, SQL injections, and you have specific videos on each of these vulnerabilities. So for example, if I click cross-site request forgery, they have a related session on how the web works. So it basically is like, let's say you want to learn about CSRF, you can watch this video to understand the general idea of how the web works, how the website works. And based on that, it adds on with the description of how CSRF works and what kind of vulnerability it will lead you to, how to secure those vulnerabilities. And I think in some cases, for example, remediations will cover those with CSRF token, how to generate those. So it's extremely recommended you guys go over these vulnerability types, because we will be going over all of these every single meeting. So for about like 1 hour or 30 minutes to 1 hour, we will watch these videos, we'll discuss the vulnerabilities and kind of cover those. So we'll go over all of these. I will probably just randomly pick one of these and then show it and just discuss. And another cool thing is they have different coursework. So what happens is you can go click one of these, go onto the link they have, and then once you log in, so you'll need to use a Google account. It does say that it might share your name in some of the applications, some of the pages. So if you want to be kind of like anonymous and hidden type person, then you can use a fake email account, fake Gmail, and then sign up there. So what happens is once you use it, it has a flawed application. So once I allow this, for example, you'll see that there's a fake application that they have designed that's vulnerable. And usually those will be the vulnerable types, those will have vulnerabilities that they have covered. And I think they will also say like you're presented, it will give you a basic description of what the exercise is. And you can kind of use that to practice yourself to see if you can find some vulnerabilities or not. So this is extremely useful tool. It's interactive, and I extremely recommend using that. And going back, Web Application Hackers Handbook is a book. It's a really big book. I don't recommend, like, I don't force you guys to just, I don't want to just say like read all of that right now kind of stuff. But if you have that book, it becomes easy when you just want to go over it, some kind of ideas. So you can easily find the book on Amazon and buy it if you want. So right here, if you go, you can buy it for probably, so the paperback is $37. You can get 27. You can get Kindle version ebooks. So this is also another recommended. It's a pretty big book. So you can read it throughout the session. You don't have to read it in one day. And another one is Web Hacking 101. So let me pull that up real quick. So Web Hacking 101 is a book that Peter Yaworski wrote. This is a book that basically describes every single vulnerability that was disclosed. So let's say someone discloses a vulnerability after it is fixed on HackerOne. The writer of this book decided to read that write-up, read that disclosure report, try to understand it, and then summarize it on his own. So for example, if we read a sample of it, let me pull it up. So for example, this is one of the chapter where he describes about open redirect vulnerability. So one really good thing is he explains it really well. So even after reading like Hacker 101, reading that, watching the videos, you're confused, it's really easy to read this, understand it. Not only that, he'll also give you real life examples. So Shopify is a company that has a bug bounty program, and they had a open redirect that was reported to them. So he will give you like the links, how much it was rewarded. Just a fair warning, not every vulnerability will be rewarded based on what this book said. So if you end up finding an open redirect and a company says we're going to pay you 100, do not show them the book and say, well, that person got 500, why am I getting 100? So it will always depend on the severity, company, threat assessment they have, and you have to make sure you understand the severity. So also like description, he'll give you a full description. He gives takeaways on how the vulnerability was found, or like what is important. So really cool thing is you can just click the link also to see the vulnerability where it was reported. So for example, in HackerOne, the hacker Blink MS reported this on November 24th. If we November 24th, 2015, you can see the action that the company took. They triaged the report, meaning they validated it, changed the report title, closed it. We'll cover these things on some of our sessions. I just want to like when I want to go over what HackerOne or a general platform works. But yeah, so these kind of resources are extremely recommended. Have it with you, read it whenever you are free. Hacker 101 is something I extremely recommend. I've used it, it's really useful. Uh, so that's about it for the slides. But I do want to go over signing up for HackerOne. So how that works is HackerOne recently changed some of the designs. So you might accidentally sign up as a program. So for example, when you click here, um, and click on sign up, it will lead you to this link, which is actually for programs to create their accounts. So this won't necessarily give you an access to report vulnerabilities. It is more of it'll create a sandbox program inside HackerOne where you get your own test environment as a program owner manager. So one way to create your researcher account is to go to sign in and then click on create a HackerOne account and just fill up your detail. Make sure the email address is legit because they actually verify the email address, so you don't want to give someone else access to your account. Have a strong password. Probably use like something that's not your personal info or anything like that, because once you end up reporting vulnerabilities, it's extremely crucial you make sure your account is secure. You don't have to necessarily use your real name. You can use a pseudonym if you want, because that way, if you want to remain anonymous and don't want someone else tracking you down based on your HackerOne or Bugbear profile, then use something that's not directly linked to you. So once you sign up, you'll get a profile page and you can submit report directly to programs. So one thing we're going to cover on the next session is finding programs to hack on and different things. So I'll go over that on the next session. But that is basically it. I don't think there's anything much to cover. One thing I did say I want to cover was the difference between bug bounty and VDP. So just to go over what they are, VDP is basically a policy where it's like a company is creating some kind of a page where they'll say, we are open to security community hacking us, trying to find vulnerabilities and reporting to us, but we will not pay for that. So a great example of that is Department of Defense. They have a public vulnerability disclosure policy. So basically anyone around the world has permission to hack any military site that the DoD operates. And if they find a vulnerability, they can report and get reputation points. Just a fair warning, reputation point is just for the platform. It won't do anything else. So if you want to hack just on VDP, you are free to do so. You can hack on bug bounties too. Department of Defense sometimes launches bug bounty programs, so you will be able to see if you go on like the thanks phase. It has a combined of hack the Pentagon, hack the Army, hack the Air Force. So if you might have heard on the news about hack the Air Force, hack the armies, because those were pretty big events. There has been other events that DoD does. In those cases, just what those are, I'll just give a quick example. What happens is there will be a page where you apply to hack. So they'll do a background check. They'll make sure you are a valid researcher. You have met certain reputation points, certain whatever the required level is, and then they'll invite you to the program where you can actually report vulnerabilities and then get paid. So yeah, VDPs, you will not get paid. This is more of a policy phase for companies creating a system where they can accept vulnerabilities. So that's it. For Burp Suite, just to go over something real quick. If you want to download Burp Suite, I want to go over something. Is Burp Suite has two different editions, that is Community and Pro, and there is also an Enterprise edition that is more if you're a company personnel. But for the Community and Professional, the Community edition is free, so I recommend downloading that. You can download the Professional, but you'll have to pay $399 per user per year. So unless you want to actually invest money on that and be an active bug bounty hunter, or unless you want to actually learn a lot of things, then you can use Burp Suite Community. I just want to correct something real quick though. When I said learn a lot of things, is if you want to focus fully on Burp, because Burp Pro has some extra features, but Burp Community has almost all the features that you need. So repeater and other things. Just one more thing, I will upload another video where I cover the setup of Burp and how to use it on a regular basis. So for example, setting it up with your Firefox browser, making sure you can listen to facebook.com or any like SSL site and stuff, so you can get the basic startup ready for your Burp sessions. So that video will also get uploaded probably by the end of this week. But that was it for the first meeting. So even though we couldn't cover it on the first meeting, like we couldn't be on site because of the incident, I hope you guys will be meeting us on our next event, which will be on September 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. It's on CS 104 room, so we're real excited for the event, for the workshops. We will be doing this throughout the year, so not just the semester. But yeah, that's about it. So see you guys on the next meeting.